A wedge of heavy cavalry slams into the Persian center, shattering the enemy line and exposing the king. The year is 331 BC. Alexander the Great is heavily outnumbered on the dusty plains of Gaugamela, facing Darius III in the climax of his Persian campaign. This schematic outlines the traditional tactical narrative. Alexander forms his infantry into a defensive hollow box to absorb Persian scythed chariots. Meanwhile, he personally leads a triangular wedge of companion cavalry to strike the weak point in the Persian center. Classical art cements this moment. We see Alexander charging directly at a terrified Darius, forcing the Persian king to abandon his army and flee. It reads like a perfectly scripted military masterpiece. But this heroic framing actually obscures the complex mechanics of how the battle was fought. When modern military historians analyze the primary sources describing Gaugamela, the standard narrative begins to crack under glaring contradictions. This fragmented papyrus is a reminder of the raw data historians actually rely on. We don't have pristine battle logs. We have decaying texts written decades or centuries after the fact. For Gaugamela, we rely heavily on two ancient writers, Arrian and Diodorus, and they completely disagree on critical details, specifically the internal organization of Alexander's army and the target of a massive Persian cavalry raid. Taking these ancient texts at face value creates tactical impossibilities. We must treat them like hostile witnesses, cross-examining their claims using modern logistics and terrain management. The first mystery is the back wall of Alexander's defensive hollow box. Traditional historians usually assume this rear guard was filled with allied Greek mercenaries. Tactically, that creates a massive vulnerability. Mercenaries lacked the unit cohesion needed to anchor a defensive line against a flanking attack. Furthermore, the math doesn't work out. Those specific troops were already deployed guarding the extreme outer flanks. The standard Greek model on the left organizes troops in multiples of two. The right shows Alexander's tertiary or base 3 structure. With 3 loci per brigade, the front 2 units lock to hold the line, while the third falls back, covering the rear. This technical source diagram models the resulting formation. The rear locus drops to half depth, doubling its width. This perfectly shields the 2 units in front of it, creating a flexible, double-edged phalanx. The rear guard of the hollow box was a built-in, modular defense mechanism executing a pre-planned maneuver. Classical writers, unfamiliar with this base 3 engineering, simply misidentified the troops. The second mystery involves a massive Persian cavalry raid. Diodorus claims this was a highly planned strike on the Macedonian camp to rescue the captured Persian royal family. Arrian argues it was a chaotic breakthrough by cavalry plunging into the baggage train. This map plots out the logistical reality. Alexander maintained 2 camps, a temporary expeditionary camp right behind his deployed army, and a heavily fortified main base 12 kilometers away. If the Persians wanted to rescue the royal family, hitting the nearby expeditionary camp makes no sense. Diodorus accurately targets the main base, but pulling off a coordinated 12-kilometer flanking maneuver mid-battle is highly improbable. The most probable answer combines the 2 accounts. The Persians likely intended to execute the deep rescue raid Diodorus described, but as the fighting devolved, fleeing Persian cavalry accidentally crashed into the nearby expeditionary camp, producing the exact chaos Arrian documented. By triangulating conflicting ancient testimonies against strict geographical distances, the perfectly scripted battle plan dissolves into the unscripted friction of real combat. Returning to the climax of the battle, the Persian lines shatter. King Darius turns his chariot and flees across the plain. The Persian collapse stems from systemic engineering. Alexander built an organizational machine designed to neutralize the massive Persian numerical advantage. Because his base 3 units were entirely modular, they could plug gaps, form protective shells, and exploit weaknesses in real time, automatically pivoting to handle threats without waiting for direct orders from a commander. Alexander's actual genius was designing a tactical system capable of processing chaos and maintaining structure even when the battle lines broke down. Historical truth rarely survives in the form of clean, settled narratives. The myth delivers an idealized, unstoppable conqueror carved in flawless marble. The historical reality is a matter of calculated logistics, modular infantry tactics, and careful terrain management. By applying analytical frameworks to biased and contradictory ancient texts, we uncover a tactical reality far more